Hi, I'm Brett Bibby, and today I'm going to be showing you the latest preview of my upcoming plugin. The plugin I'm working on is a polygon reduction tool that runs within the Unity editor. Let's get started. I'm going to be using, start off with this dragon that I got from Poser, and I really like this as a good example because basically at the moment it's pretty unusable as it is. The body, the mesh has about 34,000 triangles, and it's about 21,000 verts, which, you know, could work, but we can certainly do a lot better than that. So we just click on the dragon, we go up here, we're going to convert that selection. Now, this is the conversion window, which is going to generate the lower polygon prefab models for you. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to take a suffix. In my case, I'm doing a space, LOD, with a space at the back, and we can then say how many LOD models we want. In this case, I'm going to do 3. Now, for each level, you can choose a quality or a quantity of polygons that you'd like to target. So for this first one, what we'll do is we'll just put in 0.5. For the second one, we'll do 0.25. And for the third one, we'll do 0.125. And then we'll convert and just see what we end up with. So let's take our lowest polygon model now, and let's drag that out and take a look. Press F, zoom in. And without doing anything, I came pretty close. You can see over here that this mesh has generated about 5,000 triangles for its lowest LOD version. And I think we can do better than that. So there's a new feature that I have added, which is when you click on the root of an LOD, what's going to happen is it's going to still allow you to adjust everything about it, and it's going to apply those adjustments to all of the child meshes that are inside. Or you can still go down and click directly on the single mesh and make adjustments to that as well. So we'll go ahead and start out by making adjustments to the single mesh. I'll show you how the other one works in a minute. So we can see here that we started out with 34,700 plus triangles, and we set the quality to that. But let's say at the lowest LOD, I definitely know that I want the quantity to be about 2,500, so I can actually key in a specific value as well. So I put in 2,500 polygons. Right now it's showing me essentially a preview. Because I'm in live preview, then updates happen as I make changes. If I had this taken off and I'd put in a new value, then this would be, and I could click and preview the changes manually. I can also just click and drag and make the changes this way as well. And we'll go back to 2,500. Preview those, and then I'll turn live preview back on. Now let's take a look at what it did. This actually did quite a good job. If you look at the mesh itself, you can see that the triangles, not too many long skinny ones, they're all pretty nicely formed. Where it chose to simplify has worked out pretty well. The mesh looks pretty uniform. If I come around, even here like in the mouth, it's preserved. I got some teeth still. They pretty much still have their shape with the sharp points. If I go down here and look at the toes, can still see that there's plenty of detail here. Down here it's kept the little spurs on the feet, and I can see that the toes are still here. They still look pretty nice. So this is a pretty good job. I've taken basically an unusable model and made it usable, all within just a few clicks of the mouse. So that's good. Now let's try a different one. I'd like to show you as well that I have a terrain. Let's just do that as well. What I did is I went into the island demo, the classic island demo, we all know about that, and I just ripped out its terrain mesh. And so let's just drag that out here and take a look at that. So you can see that it's got pretty much what you would expect. Now what we're going to do is convert this to an LOD as well. So I click on there, convert selection, and this time I really don't need 3 levels. I'm just going to do 1. And we'll start out at the maximum quality. So it converts it. I click on it, and you can see here that this is basically 32,000 triangles as it sits now. And again, I can go and I can just reduce this down, and you can see it does a pretty good job. It's removing detail in the flatter areas. It's leaving more detail in the more bumpy areas. And we can zoom down and we can take a look at this. So for something like a terrain, it would actually maintain your UV coordinates. In an later preview, I'll leave this all textured and everything so you can see it. But because essentially the texture coordinates would have been anchored from over here to over here, 0 to 1, all these points along the way would have been valid. So if you had specified a certain resolution of the texture and this was tiled out, say 30 times, you're still going to get the UV coordinate of 15 in the middle. So the texture would still be tiled out over this. It would simply just reduce the mesh. So this is going to be quite useful. And if you took this and then you chop this up into smaller bits as well, you could make quite a big terrain out of this. Now let me show you one of the other new features that I've done, and that is the bike from XSI that I used before has an awful lot of polygons. But I wanted to show one of the things that we did last time is we had reduced this mesh, but then we needed to fix individual parts. And when you fix the parts, then it becomes very difficult to kind of see the overall mesh and its settings and what they became. So I've added something to do that. So again, we'll just start out with leaving this the way it was. We'll just generate one straight away. When that's done processing, then it's given me the LOD. Now the LOD started out as a setting of 1. So we can see that I've got that here. So what I could do is I'm going to take off live preview just because it has so many polygons. It's going to chug a little bit at my viewport. And I'm going to change this quality way down. So in this case, I'm going to make it only 5% of the original one. And I'm going to click preview changes. And you can see that it's reduced it a lot. We're less than 10% of what it originally was. Started out as 320,000 plus, and now we're already down to 24,000. Now, so in the root, it's showing me that now I can tweak and make all these settings. But I could still need to come in here and make some modifications. So like for instance, this drive belt, as we saw before, it's reduced and it's cutting into the cylinder down here, you can see. And so if I click on this, so first I have to apply the original changes I made. So if I click on this belt, I can then just bump this up. And then by doing that, I can fix this piece. And I can go piece by piece here, right? So I can apply those changes, and then I can find other places as well, like this thing here can go down a little bit. So I can, oops, a little too much. So I drag that down a little bit. And so let's say I go part by part like this, and this is really nice. I can tweak and make all those changes. But I can also go back, I keep doing that, I can also go back to the root object, and I've added a new mode here for the modification. So in addition to seeing the sum totals and absolute modifications, which basically means if I make any, if I make any changes to this box here, it's going to overwrite all children to that quality. So this is a lot of child meshes. So I've made changes to a place like this, so I don't really want that to get overridden. So what I've done is I've created a new one called relative modifications. Relative modifications allow you to adjust the quality plus or minus, as well as the quantity plus or minus. So if I wanted to reduce or increase the number of polygons, like say I just want to add a few polygons here and there, or I wanted to change the quality by a slightly more. So in this case, I do -0.01. So I just want to lower it just a little bit. And I preview those changes. Then it's going to relatively adjust, but it still kept the changes that I had made in several places. So that preserves my changes over the entire mesh. So this makes it really easy. I can now generate multiple LODs from a single mesh in one click, and I can configure each of those LODs independently, like what I showed you before. And then I can also go and do the root-based modifications, either absolute or relative, and apply it to the whole thing. Or I can actually go into the individual parts like I've always done, and we can make adjustments on that as well. That wraps up today's preview. Hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to getting all your feedback on the forums. Thanks for listening.